All right, okay. So first things first, before I start, no, this is not a TED talk or neither am I any motivational guru. I dreamt of something, I planned for it, and I executed it meticulously, right? So I just sort of, sharing this journey, with all of you, so that if this can motivate, help, or inspire anyone, to do anything which you have been planning for, right? I would be super happy, if people can, walk back, after this, say 30 minutes with whatever they wanted to do, right? Again, it was not like that I've prepared this presentation first and then I, went for the exam. This presentation is just, reflecting back on what I did, right, and how I did it, and if this can help, people, in any way, right? So again, though this session would be focusing more on the PMP, which is which stands for Project Management Professional, but I'll try and keep it more generic so that it's more related to the journey, the setbacks, the the learnings, and how you can kind of take some clues from what I did. And not, it's not just it will not be specific to people who want to apply for say PMP itself. I'll try my best to to keep it short, so that we spend some time to answer the questions. And meanwhile, if you have any questions coming up, you can just stop me, or you can keep writing in the chat window, so that once we come back, I can go to these questions. All right. I hope you're all able to see my screen. Let's dive into it. Now, I started planning for this certification sometime mid of last year, and for me it was very important to figure out why I wanted to do this, right? Many a times we join the gym but we don't continue it. We start reading a book, but we leave it in midway, right? But I didn't want it to do have this kind of a approach to this certification, because this requires a lot of time commitment, and it is also a significant financial impact as well, in terms of the fees and the training that you need to undergo for this certification, right? So I really wanted to be very, very sure that why am I doing this, right? So I spent a lot of time in figuring out that why, and how this PMP will help me in achieving what I'm trying to do. So that's what my first slide actually talks about. I'd spent a lot of time to basically understand that why am I doing it, so that I stay motivated throughout the journey. Now, here are some of the top reasons why I actually went for a a certification, and why only PMP in this certification. The first and foremost was career progression. 6 years of my life I had done business development. I led a P&L. I've done sales, and 4 years in gap are more of general management operations, right? Now it was kind of a khichdi, if I have to put in a simple way. I wanted to be known for something, right? And this is where I thought that I should try and tend towards a specialist rather than a generalist kind of a role. I wanted to keep developing my skills. COVID has hit us hard. It has taught us, a lot of things which we thought that would be there, 5 years down the line, are now staring right in front of us. I just didn't want it to keep waiting for things to happen. I wanted to have, things, under my control. I wanted to have, growth in my control. A dear friend lost a job. He was with me in IFT, a top performer with a consulting firm. He lost his job. Basically, his division was kind of, say, entire division was kind of eliminated, or the business went down. So it was neither a company's fault nor his fault, right? But that kind of shook me, because that was as close as it could be, right? So I will not say I was scared, but I just wanted to keep focusing on things which I can control. I cannot control if God forbids something like this happens to any one of us. We cannot control that, but what can we control is our skills, right? What will help me get a truly global career? This is something which I have been pondering for a very long time. uh, as I talk to my friends, who are settled abroad, I realize more and more that while DC, IFT are good in India, they have a good appeal in India, but they lack international appeal. So I wanted to go for something which gives me a kind of an international exposure, something which has a standard internationally. And then while I had a option for say GMAT also, but again I didn't want to do something which was digressing from my current work, and this is kind of a segue to the next objective. That was, I wanted something which will help me add value in my current role as well, right? And last but not the least, I wanted to expand my network. I wanted to explore the new side of things. I wanted to connect with more and more people. And by the way, this is not theory. Everything which you are seeing there, I have inputted here. There's no copy paste here. This is what I've thought. This is I have spent a lot of time, because I'll talk about the financial commitment and the time commitment also. So I wanted to be. I just didn't want it to be it to be like a gym, which I go for, say, 1 month and just leave, right? I really wanted to have a very, very strong reason behind it, a burning desire, as if something in my career or in my life is dependent on it. It was as important, as for me. Now, a natural question was come that will come, that why only PMP? Why not any other thing, right? Now, how PMP define or PMI defines project is, it's kind of a temporary endeavor which you take to create a unique result, service, or a product, right? Now, it's a very generic statement, right? If you step back and zoom out, each and every one of us is doing a project, in our daily lives. Whether you make a Burj Khalifa, on a predictive model, it's a project, right? Or something more relatable to us, a SME application or a PEAT application. It is something built on an incremental model, incremental adaptive model, wherein you have a basic product which the users can use, and you have releases. People who have worked on SME, during the initial part, you would see a lot of releases kept coming in 1 month or 2 months. So based on the user feedback, basically the product was kept enhancing and enhancing until the time it reached kind of a maturity state. So, and now these are high level examples, right? Something as simple as shopping online for the product you want is also a project, because you do a need assessment, you do a cost benefit analysis, you plan from where to shop, you execute it, right? And then you close the product after making the payment, right? So projects, each and every one of us is doing project. So this particular certification was very versatile, right, in terms of how it can add value to the current portfolio. It was something which was very much in sync, which I was already doing. I'll keep going, because there's nothing technical about it, right? And I'll come back to the questions. Now, when the why part of it was sorted, what now coming to the what part, right? Now, of course, this is, if you want to go for project management, this is a gold standard. I'll not go, too much into the eligibility criteria. People who are interested, I can, connect one-on-one, or you can anytime visit the PMI website. But not anyone can take this exam. You need to have, certain criteria, which is, say, 3 years of, leading projects. And it's not that, you just have to enter that I've done it. There is a comprehensive application. You need to, give a synopsis of, what you did, who were the stakeholders, what were the results, what were the setbacks, and those applications are audited as well. So it's not that you can just apply and give exam like your typical engineering or your MBA exams. So that there's eligibility criteria as well. The fees for this exam varies from somewhere around 45,000 to around 70,000, depending upon from where you acquire that training, because there is, if you notice, there are 35 hours of mandatory training that you need to undergo for this exam. So depending upon from where you take that training, the cost can vary, but bare minimum you'll have to shell out 45,000. So you need to be very sure that you are taking it to the completion. Again, you cannot keep giving this exam for lifetime, right? You only have 3 attempts to crack this exam. If you are not able to do it, you cannot continue giving this exam. uh, Step two, taking your PMP exam. Now, again, this is again something which makes this exam very special. It has 180 situational questions which one needs to complete in 230 hours. Now, it's not like a normal question, wherein, say, like your regular college exams, you learn a concept and you can arrive at an answer. These are situational questions. You'll have four options and all four of them are correct. The question will ask you that, as a project manager, what will you do first, or what will you do next, right? So until unless you are in that mindset, which you acquire as part of say, preparing for this exam, until unless you are in that mindset, you will not be able to crack this exam. PMI does not release that each question has 1 mark, or it's a 2 mark. It's there's no negative marking, but the questions and the results are based on psychometry. Now what does mean is that the higher or the difficult questions are said to having more marks as compared to the easier questions. There are theories that this exam also goes to an extent that if suppose you are doing a lot of incorrect questions in a particular domain, it will keep giving you tougher questions in that particular domain only. It kind of keep testing you further and further. So all these are theories. PMI does not come up with that what is the passing score, what does each question stand for. There is a note which I'm sure you would be noticing at the top right, that it results in a 25% increase. I've just put it for Aditya here, so but Aditya, I'm not saying this. This is just what PMI says. So right, yeah, that's it on the what part of it, right? Now, what exactly is there in the exam? Uh, what can one expect to learn from this exam, right? And again, this is too PMI focused, but then I'll be quickly pivoting to my learnings, my journey and everything. And again, one very important thing which I missed: you are not PMP certified for life, by the way. It's not like you do MBBS and then you're a doctor for life. You are only PMP certified for 3 years. This does not mean that you have to give the exam again, but there is a minimum criteria of say 60 PDUs. I'll explain what sometime later what those 60 PDUs are. But then you need to keep attending the seminars. You either take up a teaching role, or you spread that knowledge, and you have to acquire those 60 PDUs over a period of these 3 years to keep continuing the certification. Now, what makes this exam unique, or by the way, it's not an easy exam, but I wouldn't say that it is as difficult as your some of your typical CAT or IIT exams. But what makes this exam tough is because the eligibility criteria. Because if you're leading a project for 3 years, which would mean that you would have spent say at least 4 to 5 years managing a project, which would translate into that bare minimum you need to have kind of a 7 to 8 years of a work experience before you kind of be eligible, you get eligible for this exam. Now when you're 8 years into your job, you have kind of lost that momentum of studying, right? You are typically into your late 20s, early 30s, and trust me, giving an exam in college or just after your college, it's very difficult when you are 8 years into your job, right? And that's what makes this exam even more tougher. And in fact, if you decide to take say a GMAT, for that matter, or say any other competitive exam, this would be tough. But then again, this exam by design constrains you to not appear for this exam before that, which makes it slightly more tougher. You don't have that level of focus, or you have a lot of distractions. You have family commitments, you have work commitments, which I'll talk about in subsequent slides as well. So this is what makes this exam slightly tougher. And again, PMP PMI kinds of keeps refreshing the format every few years. Like for example, this year 2nd of January, they completely revamped the exam altogether. And which again kind of people who are giving the exam right now are actually in a dilemma, because there's no material online. There's no trainer trained for this new format, so you don't know what could be there. So people who are taking this exam after 2nd January, and at least for next few months, will find it tough till the time say a year has gone. There's people have shared their experiences, the trainers or the institutes have adopted to it. But people who are giving it now, it's kind of they're just entering onto a road where there's no light, and you don't know whether you'll be able to come out of it. Now this exam has three domains: people, process, and business environment. Till 30th 1st of December, this was not the format. This is the new format. So that's how they have structured the new PMI. I've just captured some of the top things, or some of the topics which you kind of get to learn and apply when you're giving for this when you're sitting for this exam. Now this is not a comprehensive list. It is a long exhaustive exam. That's why you'll see the dots at the bottom. uh, uh, Again, you could go to the PMI website, or we can connect one on one on what this exam is all about. Now, while you see 42%, 50%, and 8%, that does not mean that you'll get the questions, in that format, right? Because as I told you, it's a psychometric-driven exam, right? So if you're doing badly, say, on a process question, the exam will keep giving you more and more process questions. So you may end up getting, say, 70% of the process questions and only, say, 30%, or say, 2010 of the other areas as well. So again, that's what, this exam is all about. It kind of gets into you, right? It's a very stressful exam to give. Any initial questions? We are halfway through. Any initial questions, or I should keep moving through and we can come to the question at the end? Okay, I'll assume that we can keep moving then. Okay, now we have talked about why, we have talked about what, how I did it, right? And again, this is not something generic copied from website. This is something which I did, right? The first thing which I did, I kept it very simple. I was very clear that I will not mix my office and my studies. Rarely I have studied during the office hours. I was very sure about it. I never ever wanted to feel guilty that I'm not giving enough time to office, or I'm not giving time for my PMP. When it was PMP, it was PMP. When it was office, it was office. Rarely I studied during my office hours, which kind of led to a stretch as well. I was studying late nights, I was studying early mornings, and weekend I was studying almost 12 to 11 12 to 14 hours. Second thing which I did, I planned really well, and I'll come to that, how I did it, and why I've written, plan well and stick to the plan. Most of us plan very really well, but almost all of us don't, stick to that plan, right? So sticking to the plan is something which I did, right? And how I did it, I have kind of, you know, meanwhile, I think someone, can people go on mute if there are no questions? So this is how I've lived my 3 months, based on these trackers. So above tracker, which you see, is my work tracker, and I've planned each and every day, each and every activity. Hey, can people go on mute? There's a lot of background noise. Okay, so the first tracker is my work tracker, and if you see, November, October, December, I have lived through this tracker. If I have mapped each and every personal as well as professional activity, which I did, on this tracker. And the below tracker again, is something which I prepared in partnership with the training center, which, I was taking. And uh, again, I keep reiterating this, but I haven't done anything outside these trackers for 3 months of my life. If something was in the tracker, I ensured that it is to be done without fail, whether it's a sunny day or it's a rainy day or it's a storm, whether it's there's a lot of work in office. I made sure that if I'm moving on to the next day, I'm completing what was there, supposed to be there, on the last day. So this is how I planned those things. Again, I felt like an old guy trying to learn an electric guitar, right? Because it was not easy. As I told you, studying after 8 to 10 years into your job requires a lot of commitment, but I did enjoy during all this time. I took time to play guitar, whatever helped to kind of say give me a relaxation. But this journey I enjoyed a lot. Last but not the least, there were a lot of setbacks, which I'll talk around the next slide. But what I wanted, at the end of the day, is that I should keep walking, right? Whether I score low, in a particular mock, I'll not get discouraged. The important thing was that I have to follow that plan very, very diligently, and I have to reach to the end of the plan, right? I cannot stop in the middle questioning myself. Oh, I'm not doing well, did I choose the right thing? If I've thought about something, I spent a lot of time on why, I'll keep walking despite the fact that if I'm not doing well, I'll make sure that I'm sticking to the plan. And I stay very consistent with my preparations. This slide kind of sums up the entire journey. Yeah, thanks, Aditya. This kind of sums up the entire journey which I took. I started this around Diwali, the preparation part of it. And obviously, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy. I thought that, I'll conquer the world, and I would give the exam somewhere around, December, before the new exam format kicks in. But I was not able to do that because my health deteriorated badly. I was in severe back pain, and I was on complete bed rest for a week. I traveled to Lucknow. I had to hire a driver to come back, and I was not able to do anything, for say a week to 10 days. So what I had planned initially, I was not able to follow that. So, and that kind of added another anxiety because the new format was kicking in, and unlike anyone or like everyone, I was also in a panic mode that what would the new format bring in. From there on, I started preparing again. There was additional material, which was given. So the material also increased by 30 to 40%, and I had to cover a lot of portion. But it was this time more and more steadily. I was approaching this very steadily, sticking to the plan. Again, sometime mid of January, I've started to feel again, oh, I'll conquer the world again, right? And this was typically around, Republic Day. There was a long weekend, and I had planned to give my exam then. But again, there was a TTP exercise, which started, and I was kind of looped in to, help, Rama, and the GIS and the brand teams there. So I had to delay my plans, as TTP impacted our shipments. It also impacted my lead time as well. So again, my progress, kept going down. But then towards, the first, after the end of first, a week of Feb, I just kind of decided it's now or never. I have to do it. And by the way, I was scoring very good in my mocks. I'd spent a lot of time, in covering the theory. So I was in a good place. And don't go by the scores, because the exam was completely, another, shock of my life, because it was nothing, that I had given. I was completing my exams 1 hour before when I was giving it from home, but the actual exam I just completed 20 seconds, before the final, the actual allotted time. 3 to 4 times during the exam, I felt that I'll not be able to, crack it, because the exam was really tough, and was really, really stressful. Some few things which helped me, and it was a sacrifice on the personal front as well. I stayed away from my daughter for almost 2 months. That's the time, when they went to Lucknow. They were supposed to come back, in third week of November, but I decided, good for my wife. She got to stay 1 month, at her home, but I had to stay away from Kirit for 2 months, and that was a really, really tough thing. One of the toughest things during the preparation, which I did. I cannot think of doing it again, but that entailed a huge amount of sacrifice. One thing I'm not sure if you all noticed by now, it was not the work, contrary to our general assumptions, which kind of led to delaying my progress, or impeding my progress. It was my health which completely brought things down. So a lot of times we feel that our office work, our other priorities, they'll take a lot of time. But trust me, it's your personal things or your health, which has a more impact rather than your work. This is was some of one of the biggest learning that I had, in this journey. And in fact, during this time, some of the biggest activities which we do in a year, your offsite, which we typically start to prepare in November, do it sometime in December. Talent calibrations, appraisals, for the team, right? All these things, I did it during this time, and I personally feel that I did a better job, as compared to last year, because my focus was very high. I was just focusing on the right things, which helped me achieve that. All right. So moving on next, some of the things, which, the principles, the concepts which I learned, which will, stay with me, although there are a lot of things, but as I was making this presentation, I just thought, what would the four things, which I have to write? I think the first one, what I learned, this exam focuses a lot on people, right? And which says that a common denominator in all projects is people, but people can be counted, but they are not numbers. It has a lot of depth. 90% of project managers time is spent in communication. We don't communicate. In fact, we hate meetings. We don't want to talk to stakeholders. We want to avoid tricky stakeholders. But the concept says that the project manager's role is actually communication. Change, nobody likes change, but the agile way of thinking says that change is something which you should accept, which you should embrace, because that helps to give customers the competitive needed competitive advantage. Last thing again, it's a principle of agile which says that it's a simplicity which matters, right? And you have to maximize the amount of work not done. Now this does not mean that you don't do your work. It actually means that you have to eliminate the waste in the system. You need to focus on the right things and keep delivering value to the customer quickly. These are some of the things which will stay with me, and I look forward to kind of keep imbibing them in each of my daily work. All right, what I learned, and if something can help you, the first and the most important thing I learned is that the right time to do it is now. Whatever you have been thinking of, you have to do it now. Stop giving excuses. Generally, if there's a burning desire, that you have to achieve something, if your life is dependent or your career is dependent on something, go for it, right? The more you delay, trust me, things will even get more difficult. So the right time to do it, by it I mean anything you want to do, it is now. This is a quote from one of the book I really love, and which I feel each and every day, that the impact of life on work is more important than the impact of work on life. So ensure that your personal life, you're doing well there. You are taking care of your health. Again, I emphasize that it was not the work which brought down my preparation, it was my bad health which brought down my preparation. Whenever the workload was high, my progress went down a bit, but I was able to cover up. But when I was on bed, I was not able to do anything. So focus on your health, right? Last but not the least, you have to sync your what with why, right? If you don't have a very strong reason, if that burning desire is not enough to overcome the obstacles or the daily assumptions that the workload is high, I have family commitments, if those two are not linked, trust me, you will just leave it somewhere in between, which you shouldn't. So whatever you have dreamt of, thought of, right, just go for it, and give it your best shot, and just plan it well, and do a lot of hard work. This entire journey, it was a lot of sweat, a lot of hard work has went into it. I feel lucky also that I was able to crack it, that too with three above the targets, which is the highest you can get in this exam. uh, Despite the fact that there were moments in the exam when I had thought that I will not be able to clear it. I know we just have 2 minutes. This kind of took a lot of time, but I'll just this is everything which I had to share. Let's have some of the questions, or anything anyone wants to ask.
Uh, Hi, Farhan. Thank you so much, first of all, for preparing and investing so much time in preparing this PPT for all of us. It's really, really knowledgeable for us. And the question is related to the slide where you shared the eligibility criteria. So, how do you count those specific hours of the project management, or I mean, what is constitute? What do you constitute in it?
So you'll have to give a overall time window that from say March, say 2018 to March 2020, this was the duration of your project, and then you'll have to list, at a very granular level. Obviously, first you'll have to define what was the objective, what were the outcomes, what were the key benefits that were targeted, how you went about it, how you planned the project, how you executed it, how you monitored and controlled it, and what were the closing formalities, and what did you learn from it. So the learning part of it is very important. So you'll have to, counting part, you would know what project you have been engaged in, and then you'll have to give an elaborate description of the project. I don't know what goes into the audit part of how do they audit. So luckily my application was accepted, but that went a very detailed description of the project actually went in.
Okay, thank you.
So Sapna's asking the slide, are you sure the plan of actions? Okay. Thanks Sapna. Again, don't thank me for this PPT, right? This is the least I could have done, and if this can help you all in any way, I'll be very happy. I'll be super happy. I know we are on
Hi,
time. If any questions, yeah,
yeah,
yep.
hi Farhan. The journey was truly inspirational. My question is related to the PDUs that you talked about. That you have to do some PDUs to have continue to have this degree. So what is that?
So you don't need PDUs to appear for the exam, Hitesh. You just need 35 hours of training, before you can sit for the exam. PDUs, you only need to renew the, PMP, certification title. And there are a lot of activities. You can go anytime on the PMI website. Some of these activities are you need to attend their seminars, right? Or you take up the teaching, or you are part of some of the training institutes, right, wherein you have taken up and you are spreading the knowledge of PMP, right? So there are a lot of things, which through which you can gain these PDUs. So let's say, attending one of the seminar, one of a PMI seminar gives you say 15 PDUs. Doing another activity gives you say 5 PDUs. So over a period of 3 years, you have to collect 60 PDUs to keep continuing, retaining this membership.
Okay.
One more question, Farhan. Um, do we have some specific time for this exam, or is it? I mean, you can go for it throughout the year anytime you wish for.
You can go for it throughout the year, any time of the day, night, right, 24 into 7, 365, except for 1st January, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So, Farhan, just a quick question because I know we are running late. What do you think is sort of the career implication or career benefit that you aim to drive out of this particular examination? Although obviously it will enhance your skills and everything, but in terms of a career aspiration, what do you think it will add to you?
See, again, it goes back to the why slide, Sapna. Firstly, I wanted to have kind of a specialist profile rather than a generalist profile. I didn't want it to be known for, say, I can do sales, I can do business development, I can do some bit of operations as well. I wanted to go deeper into something. So that's the first and the foremost thing which I seek to get from this certification. The second thing which I want, and I really truly want to say at some point of time work abroad, right? And uh, one way could be that I move from the current company. The other way could be I acquire say some certifications, or I get those educations which can help some sort of a international acclaimed things which can help me get there. And obviously, to, as you said, the knowledge skills. Obviously, this is not short term. All of this is medium term to long term. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Any more questions?
So Farhan, I wanted to ask that in the whole journey of this, of this process, so what was the toughest thing you faced?
There were, if I have to recall, two of the toughest things. One was I'll not go to the preparation part of it, because study, can be tough, can be simple, depending upon, how much you like studying, and at what stage of your life you are. If you have just, say, passed out from college, or, just 2 or 3 years into the job, it will be relatively easier for you versus, say you are 10 years into your job. But toughest part for me, Ratul, was the time, when I was physically, down. My back was really giving me a lot of problem. I was not able to even turn, on the bed. That was a very tough part, and some sacrifices on the personal front. As I mentioned, I had to stay away from my wife and daughter for almost 2 months. I haven't done it, studying without your loved ones being near you was kind of I used to miss them, but I knew that in the and but they understood, right? And those were two things, two tough things, which I did for this certification.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else, guys? I know this was a very high level overview. There's a lot more I want to share in terms of what happened on the day of the exam. Why I said that thrice I felt that I will not be able to do. What were the other setbacks? But I think we can keep it very much specific to people who are targeting this exam. Was it online training which you attended? Okay, a good question. So I did an online training on LinkedIn Learning, because doing that training is free, and you get those 35 hours of tag of training as well. But what happened was, that training was based on the old content, and if I had to apply on the new content, that training was not applicable because that was not accustomed to the new the new training. So that effort kind of went away, and I had to look for some other training which was kind of which will give me those 35 hours. So I found someone on the LinkedIn offering that training. So I joined that training. It was obviously online training, nothing was in person. And that's how I achieved those 35 hours, which you mandatorily have to input on the form while filling the application. Anything else, guys? All right, then let's end the session. Thank you so much. I just hope this did help you in giving some bit of clarity. And I just wish you use this experience, or whatever or howsoever you want to use this experience to accomplish whatever you have been planning to do. As I said, the right time to do is now. Don't wait for it. Go for it. All right. Have a good day, everyone. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. One on one. I'll be more than happy. To take those questions and help you.
All right.
Thank you, Farhan.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
everyone. Bye
Farhan.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Farhan.
Thank you.